Hey folks, this is Rhykker, and could we be getting a Diablo 1 remaster? After what Blizzard pulled this week, I went from thinking that Diablo 1 would never get a remaster to now thinking there's a good chance it's gonna happen. But on top of that, I think there's something even cooler they can do with the idea of Diablo 1. We'll talk about all that in this video, but we'll also talk about this week's Diablo 4 Campfire Chat and next week's upcoming Campfire Chat, plus all the mini events Diablo 4 will have to round out November. We got details on that this week, as well as we're going to cover some other gaming news of the week. And as a reminder folks, if you need any tips or guides for Diablo 4, I have all my video content categorized on my website, Rhykker.com, which brings us to a word from our video sponsor, Squarespace. I built my website using Squarespace, and I was able to do everything myself, quickly and easily, and with zero education in the field, all thanks to how easy Squarespace is to work with. Squarespace even has a new AI tool called Design Intelligence, which combines 2 decades of industry-leading web design expertise with the latest AI tech to empower you to build a beautiful-looking, personalized website made exactly for your needs and your unique identity. Squarespace even has optimized SEO tools so that you can launch your website and start getting views as quickly as possible. Squarespace is flexible for any kind of website, with tons of design options to pick from. You can easily connect all your social accounts, and also upload your video content and organize your video library. You can sell products or services, and with Squarespace Payment, you have an easy way to manage your payments in one place. You're just a few clicks away from being able to receive payments through your website, all while offering customers popular payment methods like Apple Pay, ClearPay, Klarna, and ACH Direct Debit. Basically, if you want to build a website, I recommend Squarespace. So head to squarespace.com/Rhykker or click the link in the description to start your free trial and use code Rhykker to get 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. That's squarespace.com/RHYKKER and use code Rhykker. So starting off with Diablo 4 news. This week's Campfire Chat came and went. I have a full video with a summary. Be sure to check that one out. But in short, there's not many big takeaways. The meta is not changing. Spiritborn will still dominate. They are not nerfing the Spiritborn until Season 7. They will be buffing other classes, but not to the current Spiritborn levels, just to where they intend Spiritborn's power level to be in Season 7 once they fix all the bugged interactions and such. So yes, Spiritborn will remain 1 million times more powerful than the other classes for now. When we did get the patch notes, there were a couple surprises. Different mercenary skills are getting buffs. This may actually shake up the mercenary meta a little bit, for what it's worth. Maybe we'll run different mercenaries or different mercenary skills on our Spiritborns now. But the best change that was a big surprise in the patch notes? No change is now the default selected option when enchanting an item. When we're re-rolling an affix, can we have the default selection be no change? Would just be a nice little UX change to default the selection to no change. Oh, and they're also buffing the damage of conduit shrines. They'll now scale with our Paragon level. I don't think this is actually going to solve the problem, but it's at least an acknowledgement that there is a problem with conduit shrines and that they're open to making more changes in the future. We'll have to test out how the new condies are. And speaking of Season 7, we're actually getting another Campfire Chat next week, November 21st at 11 a.m. Pacific. That'll be about the big 2.1 patch. Now, this Campfire Chat is expected to be much meatier and will tell us what to expect in the upcoming PTR, the test server. What's interesting is that they had previously said that they would only do test servers when they felt there was significant enough stuff to test. So if we're not going to be testing the season theme, and my impression is that they're not going to be revealing the season theme just yet, then what big changes can we expect next patch? Season 4, 5, and 6 all had significant changes to test, and we got test servers. Season 4 was Loot Reborn. They, redid itemization for that. We needed to test it. Season 5 brought in Infernal Hordes, a whole new game mode. We got to test it. Season 6 was Progression 2.0. We got to test it. So what is going to be the 2.1 stuff to test? Are we just getting a test server for every season now to balance test any, meta changes? Or can we expect something bigger? And if they are looking to still retool some stuff, while itemization is generally in a good place now, there are still some item affixes, for instance, that don't seem to ever be useful. Stuff like life per second. The heal amount is just so incredibly low that there's no real way to build around life per second. I don't see any build actually working in life per second. Now, during the Campfire Chat, the devs also acknowledged that it is currently too difficult to complete our codexes, so I'm expecting some news in next week's Campfire Chat about what balance changes they may be making to aspects and ancestral items and greater affixes and how that works with completing our codex. We also got details this week about some upcoming events for the rest of the year. First off, if you play on Eternal Realm starting on November 19th, everyone will be able to boost one character to 50. This boost is then going to allow you to pick between one of 3 pre-made builds for the given class that your character is, and then you're going to get a complete set of legendary items made for that build and the skill tree all pre-made as well. And this is because the expansion basically broke a lot of pre-expansion builds, or just the 2.0 patch in general did. So this boost feature lets you get a kickstart and a functional build if you were hoping to just continue with your Eternal character in some, functional way, or you want to make a new one for that matter, without having to start from scratch. The boost will also unlock all Altars of Lilith. If you haven't already done that, you're also going to get 1 million gold, 1,000 obols, 1 Scroll of Amnesia for whenever you want to reset your skill tree and make your own build, as well as a bunch of crafting materials. And to boost your character, you're going to go to the Tavern in Kyovashad and interact with the Fated Reliquary that'll appear inside. Also, if you own Vessel of Hatred, you'll be able to boost 2 characters instead of just 1. Just a reminder though that the boost is only available for Eternal characters, not for seasonal. Then we also have the return of the Red Cloaked Horror, but with a twist. So it's not quite the return of the Midwinter event from last year, but a heavy modification and simplification of it. From November 19th until December 3rd, the Red Cloaked Horror, that's the holiday Krampus boss, he's going to have a chance to spawn inside Helltide instead of regular Hellborn. And the Red Cloaked Horror's minions, the Blight Fiends, they'll have a chance to appear as Helltide ambushes. Now the Red Cloaked Horror also has a chance to spawn in Infernal Hordes and dungeons as an ambush monster, I guess similar to the Butcher. Defeating him and his minions is said to give increased rewards of cinders, burning ether, and more. Also, they're bringing back the Gillian's Brew. This is a holiday elixir that has been improved this second go around. It's going to give you a 20% damage buff throughout its duration, also increased herb and crafting material drops, and 15% more XP. Gillian's Brew has a chance to drop from tortured gifts in Helltide throughout the event. So you're going to be doing Helltide, you're going to be running into Krampus, you're going to be getting the Gillian's Brew. You'll also be able to revisit the Midwinter Square in Kyovashad, which will allow you to accept a powerful one-time gift. And they write to, quote, use it wisely. So I have no idea what this could be. Maybe we're going to get to pick one mythic item to get for free? That would be quite the Christmas present for a lot of players. What do you folks think? What are we going to get? Sound off in the comments. Then for those of you who haven't yet purchased Vessel of Hatred, from November 19th to December 2nd, you can take the Spiritborn for a test drive for free. But only until level 25, so, 25 minutes of gameplay. And then if you buy Vessel of Hatred, you can keep your character and continue playing and leveling from there. You don't have to start over from scratch. We're also getting the Mother's Blessing event from November 19th to November 26th. You'll get the usual XP and gold buff, so this will be a great time to slam XP when you couple that with the Gillian's Brew. And lastly, starting on November 15th, they're going to be offering free personalized gifts in the shop, as well as discounted shop items. From my experience, they've used this to give out cosmetics that were previously exclusive to something like a Twitch drop or a KFC giveaway or something. Meanwhile, Warcraft has been celebrating its 30th anniversary, and Diablo Immortal is getting a crossover event where you can fight the Lich King and his minions and earn Warcraft cosmetics. Then, you know how that Remaster of Warcraft 2 leaked last week? We covered it in last week's video. Well, Blizzard announced and released remasters of Warcraft 1, Warcraft 2, and basically a re-remaster of Warcraft 3, re-reforged. So even though we had a leak of the Warcraft 2 remaster, this was still a big surprise to announce and drop this all on the same day. I've been playing some of that Warcraft 1 on stream. It's been a nostalgic trip. But this leaves Diablo 1 as the biggest outlier of Blizzard's famous old franchise-defining games that have yet to be remastered. Now, I used to think a remaster of Diablo 1 was unlikely because they did Diablo 2 Resurrected, but then they released Diablo 1 on GOG. So I forget the timeline exactly. I think this happened first. So they released Diablo 1 on GOG, and they did not release Diablo 2 on GOG. Yes, I remember now. That's what made me think, okay, why did they not release Diablo 2 on GOG? Which, by the way, is a separate platform not owned by Blizzard. It's a separate shop. To me, that was Blizzard washing their hands of Diablo 1, saying, okay, you know, GOG, you guys preserve old games. We're letting go of Diablo 1. You guys can sell Diablo 1 now on your shop. And we're not putting Diablo 2 because we're remastering Diablo 2. And then we got Diablo 2 Resurrected. But we're under new administration. Microsoft is in charge now. Things are changing. There's new leadership at Blizzard as well. At this point, it would almost be odd to not remaster Diablo 1 after, again, all their other major classics have been remastered. And I mean, yes, we can go as well into Lost Vikings and such, but Diablo, Warcraft, StarCraft, these are the core franchises of Blizzard. And of course, if you get into Diablo 1, you have Hellfire, the expansion that Blizzard tried to sweep under the rug, basically. Well, they pretty much decanonized it. There was an expansion for Diablo 1 called Hellfire, but it was not made internally at Blizzard. It was made by Sierra, and it was a weird one. People have mixed thoughts on it, but overall, Blizzard is pretended it doesn't exist. So I would highly doubt if they remaster Diablo 1 that they're going to touch Hellfire. Now, all that said, sure, a remaster of D1 would be nice, but you know what else I think would be really cool? Well, Expansion 2. Of Diablo 4, I believe we're going west, across the ocean, back to Honduras, where we're going to visit Westmarch, which we have in Diablo 3's expansion, and then we're going to visit a lot of the old haunts from Diablo 2, vis-a-vis Lutko Lane and Old Tristram. So, if that's going to happen, if we're going to get an Expansion 2, Old Tristram, imagine a new game mode, a roguelite mode, a 16-level dungeon in Tristram Cathedral, where we basically play through Diablo 1. Go through the 16 levels, there's, you know, random generation, procedural generation, just like Diablo 1. Sometimes you get the Butcher on that level 2, right? And at the end, you defeat Diablo. And you know how in Diablo 1, the skill system was skill scrolls. You would find them as drops. That's how you level up your skills. They toyed with a similar idea for Diablo 4. Well, imagine every level you find different skill scrolls, and this is where the roguelite element comes in. You pick different power-ups and skills so that your build, whatever, you know, you go in there with a certain build, but then your build and your gameplay changes as you go deeper, as you're picking which of these skill power-ups to get. Every run becomes different. It's very much like Hades, you know? Then, of course, you could add on to it some kind of a progression system where every run, you're leveling up something to make your next runs better, smoother, whatever, you know, add that extra progression. But what do you folks think? Would you be interested in something like that? Sound off in the comments. Now, also for Warcraft's 30th anniversary, the devs teased a long requested feature. Player housing. And from the preview, it won't be the Garrison style, not quite actually player housing, but full-on customizable, hang up my personal trophies player housing that people actually want. Okay, now come to D4, please. Player housing will come with WoW's next expansion titled Midnight, and we're going to get the full reveal of Midnight late next summer. They also reveal the next major update for The War Within, called Undermined. It'll take players into the underground goblin capital of Undermine, and will release early next year. It'll include a new story, a new arena map, new customizable vehicle, a new dungeon, 2 new delves, a new raid, and more. Also, WoW Classic will be moving on to Mists of Pandaria in 2025, which splits the player base between those happy to relive the old journey of WoW through its different expansions, and those who literally just wanted WoW Vanilla Classic to stay WoW Vanilla Classic. Well, to make everybody happy, Blizzard is going to release WoW Classic Classic. No, this is not an out-of-season April Fool's joke. On November 21st, new Vanilla Classic realms will drop that will once again progress through the Classic WoW updates, starting all over again, with the Molten Core raid releasing in a few weeks. As we mentioned earlier, we got remasters of Warcraft 1 and Warcraft 2. Not remakes, just remasters. Still very nice. Looks like they AI upscaled a lot of the cinematics and image assets. In some places it looks a little wonky. But they also tossed in some quality of life features, and I've been playing through Warcraft 1, and I'm happy. You know, apart from realizing how dated Warcraft 1 is. I mean, I can't A-move, The hell is that? How did we play RTS games back in 1994? And then the Warcraft 3 Reforged, as we like to call it, is another graphics overhaul for the Warcraft 3 Remaster and more quality of life changes as well. It's not what was originally promised. We're still not there. I don't think we're ever going to get there. But hey, gotta at least give them brownie points for updating it nonetheless and not getting any further profit off of it. Well, I mean, I guess they're still selling it to new people, but all the people that got suckered into buying it in the past, you know, they're still getting the free updates. Then Hearthstone is getting a crossover event with StarCraft. Kind of bummed, if I'm to be honest, that the only new StarCraft content coming out of Blizzard is in Hearthstone, but hey, hopefully they manage to release the current StarCraft game that they're secretly working on, and it's not going to get indefinitely shelved like the past 3 StarCraft projects, right? And the last major WoW anniversary announcement Blizzard had was Warcraft Rumble coming to PC, with beta starting on December 10th. And while WoW Classic is getting another classic version, Overwatch is as well. The Overwatch 2 team announced Overwatch Classic, which will be a game mode that's going to run from November 12th to December 2nd, and it'll more or less be a return to the game's launch date in 2016. So the heroes will have the same abilities that they had back then without any modern reworks. I can't wait to see the new Overwatch 2 players meet OG Bastion. Now, we spoke earlier in this video about GOG when we said that Blizzard had sent Diablo 1 to GOG. Well, GOG is also making headlines this week with the announcement that they are starting the GOG Preservation Program, which is an official stamp that they're going to put on games in their store to indicate that this is an old game that they have improved and are committed to ensuring its compatibility with modern systems and to make as enjoyable to play as possible in the current year. Now, GOG already kind of did this where and when they could, but now they are officializing it with a stamp so that you can clearly see when you're in the game shop whether an old game has gotten this treatment. And they kicked off this initiative with the re-release of 100 classic games from their catalog, which includes Diablo 1 and its expansion, as well as Resident Evil, Heroes of Might and Magic 3, and many others. See, the Video Game History Foundation recently shared a pretty depressing stat. 87% of games created before 2010 are inaccessible today. 87%. GOG is doing what it does to help preserve gaming history and ensure that we can keep playing the games that we loved as children. So, good for them. In other news, but kind of related, Ubisoft is being sued for shutting down The Crew. 2 gamers are proposing a class action lawsuit against Ubisoft after they shut down The Crew, which had launched in 2014 and 10 years later, just recently shut down its servers, rendering the game completely unplayable. Now, if The Crew were an MMO, you may say, well, that's just how it goes, right? Old MMOs die out and you can't play them anymore. But The Crew is a racing game. It is not unreasonable for the game to have a single-player offline mode. The lawsuit alleges that customers were duped by being misled into thinking they were buying a game rather than just a license to play a game. It also alleges that Ubisoft falsely represented that The Crew's files were all stored on the physical disc that people purchased, and users can freely access what is on that disc. As in that they were buying a disc with the game on it, not a disc that had a key to play the game. For Assassin's Creed 2 and 3, while Ubisoft did shut down the servers for these games, they did allow players to keep playing these games offline. Now I know some people are going to think, hey, buyer beware, you should have read the fine print. Look, I don't think every company should be forced to provide an offline mode for a game when servers go down. If a company is going bankrupt, right, if it's some small company or something, it seems unfair to force them to keep supporting some failed product. But some AAA company that has the resources to do something like this, yeah, it feels pretty reasonable to expect them to not just abandon their old products and render them completely unplayable. This will be an interesting court case to follow because it can help set a precedent moving forward for the industry with regards to consumer protection laws. Speaking of which, the Stop Killing Games initiative was launched after Ubisoft announced they'd be shutting down servers for The Crew, and its aim is to urge companies to ensure that live service games remain playable even after servers are shut down. You can go to stopkillinggames.com to learn more and to sign the European Citizens Petition. And speaking of game preservation, Epic Games has given the folks over at oldunreal.com the permission to host installers for Unreal Gold and Unreal Tournament. Oldunreal.com is a non-profit community to support older Unreal Engine games. They would host patches, maps, mods, textures, skins, and other content, whatever they were legally allowed to host. Well, now they're legally allowed to host the actual installation files. So they are now offering for free Unreal and Unreal Tournament. So thanks Epic and thanks old Unreal. And while people know me for Diablo, many don't realize that Unreal Tournament was an equally instrumental game in my youth. The premise of the original Unreal game was that you were aboard a prison ship that crash landed on an alien planet. The name of that prison ship? The Vortex Rhykkers. Then lastly, in some very quick Stellar Blade news, the PlayStation exclusive title is coming to PC in the first half of 2025. Seems Sony is seeing the value in PC as a platform more and more. And that's going to wrap up this week's video, but do be sure to check out last week's video in which we discussed why player numbers seem to be dropping faster in Diablo 4 Season 6 than in past seasons. Thanks for watching, special thanks to my supporters for making these videos possible. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and subscribe to join Rhykker's Raiders for more gaming content.